Welcome to Planetary Health First, Mars Next. It is going to be an amazing journey today. Hope you are ready for liftoff. We are live now. Well, thank you for joining us. We are live, Planetary Health First, Mars Next. This is Michael. I've got Charles Gellman in the studio, and he is a founder. He is no stranger to healthcare. He's been in sales for many years, multiple positions. Gosh, I'm telling you, there is something truth about CEOs that have sales experience. Everything's sales, but it looks like he's got a great background. He was at Microsoft. You were at Premier, Walters Clover, and then also J&J. So you got a really diverse background. The last sales position I see on you is Microsoft. So my gosh, you very eclectic and diverse in the different large sale companies across healthcare to make you a force to be reckoned with as a founder. And right now you're the founder CEO of HIDOHealth. Please unpack a little more, share a little more about yourself. That would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I appreciate being on the show and looking forward to our next touch-off point in Mars. It is HIDOHealth, and I've had a comprehensive, experience of a number of different Fortune 500 companies, ranging anywhere from pharmaceutical companies to medical device and software. And my background's data science and clinical informatics. So I really started thinking critically about clinical outcomes and creating a blueprint for health a number of years ago and what that would take in order to make that happen. So the blueprint for health, the way I see it, is really understanding the different outcomes for patients, assembling and aggregating those different combinations of medications, and then tracking the behaviors of patients in their home that no one's ever done before with a AI robotic device, so we can recreate that magic amongst many patients of all races, ages, gender, disease states, and create that standardization that currently doesn't exist in the marketplace.
So why does it not exist?
Well, I think it comes from a variety of different reasons. One, providers treat patients with empiric treatment, and that is predicated on their clinical expertise and their medical training in school. So that cascading impact is throughout their careers. So from provider to provider, if you and I go see, let's say, Dr. John, and then go see Dr. Jane, there might be a variation in their medication protocol based upon the different variables in their experiences.
So tell me what you're doing right now. Tell me about this company you started and how did it start?
Yeah, so this really culminated from my experiences at a number of different startups. I've worked at some large Fortune 500 companies, as well as some startups. I was a mentor at StartX Med, which is a Stanford-based accelerator, and then part of a couple of other medical device startups. We started to look at this because the data in the market didn't exist on figuring out the behaviors in the home when it comes to medications. So there is no tracking mechanism right now in the market to know dose by dose whether or not patients are taking their medications or missing their medications. So we developed a protocol to potentially eliminate medications in the home, medication errors in the home, but also track soup to nuts, everything that's going on, and automate that process for patients. So for the people that are watching this, we have patented technology with an embedded RFID chip in each pill cap. And that knows medication name, dosage, frequency, and count. So the AI robotic device, the HIDO, is the hybrid technology of a Keurig coffee machine and a ring. And the whole goal is to simplify the experience for patients at home.
I feel like we need to have a video for this. I feel like I'm not doing you justice by not having like a quick clip. I should have done that, but I think just the little bit that you did with the pill, with the RFID, gives me a way of seeing it, visualizing it. But imagine it's really something is the process of seeing it. So can you tell us a little more about that process?
Yeah, so we shot a full feature documentary over 3 years. So anybody that wants to see a video, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. You can search HIDOHealth or go to HIDOHealth.com to see those videos, and you can see step by step the setup, the dispensing, but more importantly, the types of impact that it makes for patients. So we've studied patients with dementia, with congestive heart failure, hypertension, diabetes, and other different disease states. And the one underlying theme with all these patients is that what we created, it was a highly sticky device because it's been developed based upon patient feedback and
Mhm.
comments. So the Hydro device is not a culmination of our engineers per se. They built out what was requested by patients and the needs of the patients in the market.
Well, that's really good to hear that this process has really been a slow process building from patient's journey. And then the fact that you talked about all those different disease processes or, from cardiovascular to dementia. How are you going about this with your business model? I mean, are you looking at, I know I was reading something about clinical trials. So do you have a beachhead client you're working with? And tell me about that.
Yeah, so we started research with Stanford from an NIH funded study. So we started looking at antiretroviral medications and subtherapeutic dosages, which basically means that patients aren't taking it according to how they're prescribed, and then whether or not their subtherapeutic dosages are having non-detectable viral loads in the blood. So that's how it started. And then we've also done NIA, which is the National Institute of Aging, sponsored study at Rush University in Chicago with patients with mild to moderate dementia. And what's interesting with those patients is that they're able to utilize the HIDO device, set it up, and dispense medications at certain variations, anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes. And patients with dementia have severe cognitive impairment, and their immediate recall and delayed recall is compromised. And every single one of these patients have been successful with this assisted technology. So the implications of the technologies that we're working on are far reaching and far stretching, not just among disease states, but many millions and millions of people.
Wow. So that's almost like a nudge, a helpful solution for those who have memory, cognitive impairment, whether they even just took a pill. Is that what we're saying at the best case scenario? Did that individual take it, and with you, there's a much more efficacy, accuracy, kind of knowing the data that they took it or not.
And there's a lot of power to that, understanding people's behaviors and enabling people to have independence and freedom within their lives. Because not everybody wants to be dependent on caregivers. There's roughly 40 million caregivers in the United States right now that are not paid. So imagine having to care for a loved one and you're getting off of work. Now you're driving an hour, or you're worried about mom or dad or brother or sister with maybe they have some mental health conditions. This is a huge, huge problem that no one's ever been able to solve.
Yeah, I know this firsthand. I have a 91-year-old father, an 85-year-old mother, and she's a primary caregiver. We have a caregiver for my dad who has dementia. And yeah, I mean, this whole thing is, that little note, the piece of paper with the medications on the fridge. Did he take it or not? So this could relieve so much of what we call that caregiver burden, allowing the gaps, like that time gap, just to know if dad took his medication or not. That's just huge,
Mhm.
so, and even just assist the caregivers, even if you have a 24/7 caregiver, they would want to use this too, because they're burnt out and they don't know if they even gave the person, their loved one, or that, I guess they're the person who they're serving and working, whether they even gave them medication sometimes.
And what's interesting is that a lot of the type of delivery of care in the United States, and I would say, almost throughout the developed world, is within the hospital, within a sterile environment of a clinic. So that means the weakest link in the chain is typically the patient that's at home. So they have to be able to assist themselves or care for themselves or have family members that are able to do that so they can follow or track the protocols of a licensed doctor or nurse. But those are medically trained professionals that are highly educated. So you're going from, a highly advanced clinical expertise to a layperson. And a lot of times that communication gets lost in translation and it falls apart, unfortunately.
So how does this work with the RFID? You have some sort of, whether it be enabled by a phone or whatever in the house through Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and then that information is able to go to the EMR. I mean, tell me a kind of like start to finish how that process of information happens.
Yeah, so the HIDO device is a robotic device. It looks like a coffee machine. It actually resides either in the kitchen or the bathroom. And a patient walks up to the device. It uses Face ID to unlock, and then it dispenses medications as they're prescribed by your physician or your provider. The cap is smart, which it understands medication dosage, frequency, and count. So patients no longer have to remember or make mistakes. And by doing this, patients basically retrain their brain in order to ensure that they can care for themselves on a regular regimen. And if they deviate, then for the first time ever, providers know what's going on in the home. Right now, it's based upon these communications that happen that are solely pressed for time. So they might only have 5 minutes between a doctor and a patient. So that's it. And then you're off to the races when you're at home. So we try to eliminate all of that confusion and ensure that patients are taken care of in the comfort of their home.
So Charles, when that patient that comes to your device, how do you know that they take the pill and it's like, how is that done?
Yeah, so there's a video recording that happens in front of the device. So anybody that's listening, I'm holding a transparent cup. So they put it up to their device with the pills, and it's transparent and it's put down. So we have 2 cameras on the front of the device. One is infrared, so we can see the different type of skin color or the lighting mechanism. If I turned off the lights, it was pitch black, I could walk up to the device as a proximity sensor and it would recognize my unique data points in order to unlock and then dispense.
That's really cool.
Thank you. I take no credit for any of the engineers that have developed that.
I mean, because it's that second right there. Did it really happen or not? I mean, next to, doing that, I mean, really in the end, I find that fascinating. So when do you see this? Obviously you're not at Walmart yet. You're not like, mainstream fully, and that's probably never your goal, but where are you in a business model, kind of what stage with adoption and how to go to market? I know you've done those 2 studies. You talked about the NIH, you talked about the aging, the National Institute of Aging, doing 2 of those studies. Fascinating. Awesome. Tell me your time horizon and where you're at right now.
Yeah. So we went live with the Medicare Advantage plan in Northern California, and we were focused on congestive heart failure patients. The reason why payers are interested in this group is because it's usually a revolving door of going to the hospital and the emergency room, which is not good for the patients, but it's problematic for payers because it's exceptionally expensive. So we proved out whether or not the HIDO device would have a substantial reduction in hospitalizations. And our initial hypothesis was that we'd have a 20 to 30% reduction. But in fact, once we went inside each one of their homes, we realized that the situation was really uncontrolled. So we had an 80% reduction in hospitalizations and a 70% cost savings for this Medicare Advantage plan. And that's not our data. That was reported to us by the health plan. So you have to realize this issue is just absolutely enormous and no one's ever been able to tackle it the way that we have.
That is like hard to believe. That's incredible. That's phenomenal.
If anybody wants to see the white paper, it's on our website. Feel free to look through it. But the challenges are so large within the marketplace, and they're needed by so many individuals with chronic disease. I humbly believe that we can make a remarkable impact within the healthcare ecosystem.
So how many individuals with that study, with that Medicare Advantage?
Yeah, so that study was up to 30 patients with congestive heart failure, where we looked at different lab values and we looked at hospitalizations, and we looked at emergency room visits, as well as total cost of care. So healthcare expenditures.
So we're looking at Medicare Advantage plans, and then I imagine you're doing some clinical trials.
Yeah, I think there is a big shift to decentralized clinical trials for pharmaceutical companies, as well as clinical research organizations that are focused on decentralized clinical trials. And that's really enabling health equity for patients that are underserved in the marketplace. So imagine you could load up the device, ship it to patients. It doesn't matter where they are, from an academic medical center or a clinical trial center. They could utilize the device remotely, and then they would get real-time feedback on their clinical efficacy, their safety, their dosage regimens, and then they're enabled to communicate directly through the device as well.
That is cool. So you're saying are they using, like, with the AI, is it the voice where the patient can talk into it and it gets some of those symptoms, or tell me about that, or is
Yeah, so we have video recording. So if a patient wanted to talk into the unit while the recording was taking place, that entire conversation would take place. In the near future, we're looking at that bi-directional communication that takes place. So if a study wanted to set up a clinical intervention, or if they wanted to communicate versus making a phone call or a text message, I think there's an ability to have that capability of sending those conversations back and forth through the device. And that just opens up their ability to service more people in an equitable manner.
Well, Charles, I'm super excited. I have to tell you, I wasn't clear on what you were doing earlier when we connected, and I feel like it's really it's not just the story, it's what sounds like your development with this product. It's really, it's very clear there's a strong ROI. And I really didn't see it. Now I do. And I just was seeing it like, oh, okay, dad or mom isn't taking their medication. Well, it's not just, it's the validation techniques that you have with the video, all the science behind it. And it's super cool, super smart. And our healthcare system, I mean, how many, 100,000 deaths, unavoidable errors because of medication mismanagement. I mean, so it seems like the sky's the limit on here. So you have Medicare Advantage plans, the clinical big pharma. What other pockets that you're interested in?
Yeah, we recently signed a deal with an organization. It's a home care company that specializes in servicing veterans, and they cover all 50 states. So the way to think about what we're doing is really a home health hub. And that consists of an AI robotic device, which is HIDO, home care support when needed, as needed. And then you combine that with a pharmacy benefit manager, mail order pharmacy. So everyone's incentives are aligned, and it's a fully integrated network of delivery from manufacturer of medications to mouth.
Yeah. I would imagine too, with severe mental health, efficacy on that. I mean, but I was fascinated, like what you said with the cardiovascular group too. So right now you are really getting charged, really pumped for January 7th to the 10th, the JP Morgan event. So I'm going to try to air this as soon as I can to get it released, because I would think, if I'm hearing this, I know I'm not the best interviewer. I'm not, a journalist by training, but I think it's pretty clear, self-evident by this conversation, you got something. And if I was an investor, I would want to hear some more about it. So I imagine you're doing some raising now. Are you able to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're finishing a round right now, and it's a pre-series A round. Our series A is probably going to be 10 to 20 million in Q2 or Q3 of 24. And that's going to be based upon the type of traction that we have in the marketplace and the contracts we have set. We're very excited for the JPM conference. We're going to be showcasing in 2 different events. One is the Chandran Gallery, and then the other is the San Francisco Yacht Club. So we're very excited about some of the strategic partners that we'll be speaking with at the event.
Is there what would be your best suited partner, you think, as an investor and partner? Is there, if there was a persona out there?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple different interesting strategic partners, and it can range anywhere from large pharmaceutical companies to clinical research organizations to a payer that also might own a pharmacy benefit manager and a mail order pharmacy. So we can span the variety of the integrated system and the delivery network. Ideally, though, would be the distribution that is at risk because they own a health plan also.
So what if someone wanted to make an order today for 2,000 units?
hmm Yeah, just go ahead and go to our website and click contact us, and then we'll be able to look into exactly the application of what you're trying to accomplish and then facilitate the order.
So how that to me, so that must be a challenge at that. I mean, with like something on that scale, with the amount of those units, how do you do that?
Well, so we partner with a contract manufacturer that's actually right down the street from us. So we're pretty fortunate
Okay.
just because of our location. Most people have to reach far and wide from a contract manufacturing, but we're very fortunate because we have one right down the street. So whether it's 2,000 or 20,000,
Wow.
I believe that the capacity is not an issue at this point.
Jeez. That's impressive. I don't, other than watching Shark Tank, hearing all those little things, like those questions. I don't watch it as much, but there's those certain startup stories. So it sounds like you really mitigated a lot of these startup challenges. You're getting some really, the 2 studies you're doing. Do you want to do a few other studies? What do you really want to be doing in the next year?
The most important thing is really to keep patient top of mind. So what we're solely focused on in our mission is really about enabling health equity. So we're going to continue. We're going to submit a phase 2. So to further our mild to moderate dementia research at Rush University, but we're also looking to expand our reach within the pharmaceutical space. So our focus is helping as many individuals as possible and enabling health equity, not just on the payer side, but also within the clinical trial market space.
And you have a team. I'm seeing behind you. Tell me about your team. You're a founder. This is your company. You're the sole founder. Tell me a little bit about that and your team.
Yeah, so I'm the co-founder. During some party discussions, I might say that I'm a sole co-founder or sole founder, but that's incorrect. I am the co-founder. My partner is Brandon Woolsey. He's the co-founder, and he's been at a variety of different other startups in the past. He's a biomedical engineer. He's pretty smart. In addition to the other teams of the folks then that you see in the background that are walking by. Usually they'll make some cameos as they walk back and forth.
Well, I like that we're doing this while you're working. Everyone's in their closet. Well, no, I guess post-COVID now, it's been long enough. People go back to work, but a lot of people are here and there. But I think it's really cool that you're at work. You showed me a little bit before some of your team and as they're working while we're talking. But tell me what you think would be the most important thing that we should be talking about while we're here today.
Well, I like I said before, I think as long as we're 100% focused on patients and understanding the type of need that is in the marketplace for these types of individuals. So it's more than just a cost mechanism. You have to think about their quality of life and the families that it's impacting. I believe that if we can go and touch those patients, it's much more than just their independence and freedom of that patient, but also it impacts everybody around them, their family, their friends, their loved ones. And that is a monumental shift in the way that we think about people at home and how they need to be cared for. And this is a big problem. It's never been solved, and we need to do something about that right now.
So if I heard correctly, you're really trying to make a focus as a big problem. We don't know what's going on in the home, and you have a huge data housing to make the biggest impact on health in the home clinically with what you have.
Yeah, just imagine if you go into a broom closet or a room and it's pitch black. Open your eyes. What can you see? Because that's the current state that providers have right now, because the only communication method that they have of what's going on in the home is directly from the patient, and they may or may not be able to accurately recall what's happening. So what if we don't have to be dependent upon that source of information or truth, and we can accurately, real time, give providers the ability to do clinical interventions when they're needed?
So you have at this point you're raising series a pre-series seed series, and you have advisors currently on your do you want to share a little more about kind of the breadth and depth of what you're amassing? As I mean, this is going to be a big company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, we've been very, very fortunate. One of our advisors is Dr. Kathy Donison. She was the chief health plan administrator for CalPERS. CalPERS is the second largest insurance plan in the country. And then also Dr. Phyllis Gardner, who taught at Stanford and Harvard for quite a while and has been instrumental in helping us out. We have Dr. Marty Torres, who's a clinical pharmacist that has helped guide us through medication safety and ensuring that we have the right delivery mechanism to make sure that patients are taken care of in their home. And in addition to Laura Zem, who's the former CEO of the Spire Health Plan. And that is critical because she saw firsthand how well this device is used within those congestive heart failure patients.
So what are you doing to keep your like energy up? I mean, you got to be, you know, what do you do to charge yourself up, work out? What do you tell me about coffee? Is that what's in there? Like some whiskey, coffee, or what? No.
Yeah, so
No.
it's tinted for a reason. Every morning actually I have a couple cups of coffee, and then at night, in order to recharge, exercise. I've been playing a lot of pickleball lately, which utilizes the mind and some exercise in the body. But I like to think and go for walks and listen to music at night. And I think that kind of helps organize everything in my head. But I like to have to stay active, especially in this super high stress environment where, you have high highs and low lows. It's very important to be able to, maintain your health and keep moving
Well,
forward.
Charles, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed having you come on today, and I really appreciated your accessibility to your team. I think that says a lot that you're here as a CEO, the founder, co-founder of your company, and you open up the call to all your team, and I think that those are those little things that say a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, this is a team environment. There is a M&E in team, but without all the other folks surrounding us and having smarter people work on these projects, there's no way that this project would be built into such a success that it has been today.
Now, I don't want to call out anyone because I could make that engineer behind the scenes but if anyone in your team, and if you're okay, if they want to come on and just share a little, I mean, that would be great. I think our audience would love it. Now I know you're in a chair and they're like around there, but if, and so it would be great. If they might want to say anything.
You want to say hi to everybody out there?
Hello, everybody out there.
And Brandon, cameo.
All right.
There you go.
All right. Well, anyway, and they're like, who's this guy? Gosh, get away. I'm building a product, got to do those no TPS reports here, right?
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Well, Charles, where else? We got some more time left. It's your time, not mine.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to take a look at those videos, you can go on YouTube under HIDOHealth, HIDO Health, or go to our website, same thing, HIDOhealth.com, and we have videos for the health plan marketplace as well as clinical trials. If you want to see any of the patient testimonials, they are quite moving. Patients that have had cancer to congestive heart failure, diabetes, as well as HIV. So we're very fortunate and thankful for all the patients that have taken part of those testimonials. And those are all real patients. We filmed everything, soup to nuts, if you want to see the entire HIDO story, and you can see how we built it over the last several years. So please visit those videos, comment, like, and share with your friends.
All right. I like this. I feel like that's the ending point. But if there's anything else you want to share or talk about, we're at 30 minutes in. I definitely don't go more than an hour but 30 minutes can stop, but we can go into a few more points if you want.
I think I'm good unless you have any pressing questions, and I just appreciate
Yeah.
the time on the podcast. If there's investors that are looking to invest in AI robotics, then please visit us at the JP Morgan event, or you can email me directly.
Cool. I think this is good too. And Charles, I want to thank you for coming on. I'm only as good as my guest, and I really wish you the best of success. It definitely your sales, your engineering. It seems like you've stumbled upon this intrinsic product, even though I'm sure those engineers on your team are really leading it, but you definitely are clear that you're a product guy and you got a really super important product that's making a big difference. So we're going to end it on this. And friends, it has been a great journey today on Planetary Health First, Mars Next. Follow us for more on Planetary Health First, Mars Next. Until next time, peace be with you.